Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rockin Realities. Today's guest is John Fiddler of the band Medicine Head. It was so much fun talking to John. John, if you're seeing this, thank you so much again. Check out his newest single, Warriors of Love. It's such a great song. Before we start the interview, I would like to ask you to check out our new merchandise, which is available at Schwammerhandler. I'll have the links in the description, so that will go directly to the store. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and get in touch with us. I love getting messages from everyone. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new interviews. But for now, enjoy the show.
What's happening, kids?
Well, first of all, thank you for taking the time to talking to us.
No, I looked at a few of the things you've done and I just thought, great, really good, positive vibe from you guys, really there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So who wouldn't want to be involved?
Oh, thank you. It's great to hear. It's great to hear that kind of feedback. And yeah. Well, we love this music. So we're glad to spread our love with this music and the happiness with the world if somebody wants to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, so positive, just remain that way. And that's all I try to do is just spread positivity, peace, love and positivity, etc.
Yeah, that's great. I noticed that when I read your emails. That was really great. I love that, getting that kind of emails. That's so cool.
Yeah. Like you say, we all need that, we do need, it's not that we feed off it too much, but it's nice to be recognized and it's nice to be, have some confirming information sent back to you, hey, that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to ask me some questions then now. I'll see if I can answer them.
Sure. So, well, I thought
can I ask you a question? Where are you guys?
We're in Germany.
Where are you? Oh, right. Okay. Been there a few bazillion times and wonderful. Yeah. Whereabouts are you? Where are you in Germany? Which city?
Bavaria.
Oh, right. Okay. I remember the first time I went down to Bavaria way back. It was either late 60s or early 70s. And I used to get a lot of people doing this signing, so cut your hair, It's like, huh? Yeah, great stuff.
I think our dad probably had the same thing going on when he was a teenager, when he first started growing his hair.
Right.
Like Vince's hair is like twice as long as mine.
Right. Cool. And it's all wrapped up in little buns there, look.
Yeah.
No, headphones.
Okay, so I thought we could start at the beginning. So how did you get into music and what made you want to become a musician?
First of all, I never say I'm a musician, right? I always say I'm a magician. Okay, I make people think I'm a musician, but that's how I feel, because I don't feel like I didn't try to become a virtuoso or, learn a whole lot of stuff about guitars, keyboards, whatever. I kind of self-taught, but I wanted to write. I was writing songs when I was very young, but I just didn't have a guitar, or anything like that. So I think the first thing that really got me into music was when I was a young boy. My two older sisters were listening to a radio station called Radio Luxembourg. And on this station, there came this sound. It was a lot of rock and roll at that time, a lot of early rock and roll, Chuck Berry and, some great stuff. And occasionally at this time I found they played this song, which I'm sure from experience was a Muddy Waters track. Something like, it was electric Chicago blues, like do 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 do, and it's like, what? As this little boy listening to this harmonica playing, and it was just outstanding. And then threw me sideways. And I had to wait a lot of years to hear anything like that again, because it just didn't come onto British radio. It just wasn't around. So when I got into secondary school, I think it was, I started meeting other people other kids who had heard blues music, and which was like, rarity really. But we kind of all got together, we all sort of hung out together. And another friend of mine eventually found out that his father was actually American from Chicago, and he had like a major collection of Chicago blues records, because they would go on vacation to Chicago each year, and he would bring back all these albums, Lightning Hopkins, who's not necessarily electric blues, but just lots and lots of good stuff. So that's really what got me into music and wanting to be involved, and then after school I went on to art school, which is in the UK. It's almost like, to join the rock and roll ranks, you almost have to have gone to art school. There's so many of us who've been to art school and then went into music, rock and roll. So I did, I went to compulsory art school for rock and roll. And, then started up thinking, what the hell am I going to do? I don't care. I like music. I'll try something like that. And got kind of very lucky, really. It's interesting when you meet up, like at school, I met Peter Hope Evans, who was the other person in Medicine Head. And the first day I met him, I think it was, he had a harmonica sticking out the top of his blazer, his school jacket pocket, and it was like, wow, he's got a harmonica. So the next day I had my harmonica in the pocket, and I can't remember whether we had the same keys or what, but anyway, we started playing harmonicas together, and that was a whole lot of fun. It's just like so good. And yeah, we started just playing, and eventually it became something, it became Medicine Head, which is really staggering,
And so how did you come up with the band name, Medicine Head?
Well, literally it was medicine for my head. It really was medicine for my head. And it was a literal translation of how I felt. I was in a kind of transition period, where, I'm like old enough to be your grandfathers, I'm sure. But, the thing is that when you're young and you're looking for something, and you don't want to go this direction, you don't want to go that direction, you want to go in this direction here, which is really what your dream is, or what your kind of emotional goal is. And being somehow involved in creating, writing, singing, playing, that was my thing, my dream. And all the other areas were a headache, they really were a headache. But, we kind of got through that. And originally, I think what the first name for Medicine Head was called The Mission, because we felt like we were on a mission, it was the mission, right? And the next one was Dr. Feelgood and the Blue Telephone, right? I was Dr. Feelgood, and Peter played the harmonica through the mic. That was the Blue Telephone, So that was that. But eventually, Medicine Head came along, and that was it. Yeah, medicine for my head.
And so who came up with the idea that you should play drums, guitar, harmonica, and sing all at the same time?
I think it was just a message sent, we didn't know any musicians, and like I said, I'd always say I'm a magician, not a musician. We didn't know anybody, we just knew ourselves. And what happened was that I had started to learn and write songs on the piano. We had a piano at home, and I taught myself blues on the piano. And so I'd play the piano and sing. Peter would play the harmonica. And eventually, when we started to kind of get out and try to go play in clubs, all the pianos were smashed to bits, just not in tune, or they were all terrible, so it became obvious that something had to be done. We had to get a guitar and whatever, so that's what we did. We got a guitar, and I had to, a few years before, I'd been taught some chords on a left-handed guitar. So the guitar was upside down, so that instead of fretting that way, I was fretting that way, so that the top string was up here, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everything was upside down. That was the only way I learned to play a few chords. Then the piano, and then we got a guitar, and it was a right-handed guitar. So everything from the previous thing I had to turn back upside down again, and then to transfer everything from piano to guitar in order to be able to go out and play gigs. So we had a gig within like a couple of weeks of me getting a guitar for the first time. So when we kind of started playing this, and I said, it really needs we need to get some power in here. And I'd seen this bass drum in a junk shop, and it was a big old orchestral bass drum, 32 inches, which is, most drums are around, bass drums are about 22, 24. This was 32 inches. It was ridiculous. And it was old, and it was falling apart. It was rotting, and who cared? We got it. And I started thumping this bass drum, playing guitar and singing. So when we got to the first gig, I didn't have the hi-hat cymbal at that point, because they were expensive. We couldn't afford it. It was just this junk shop bass drum, cost about, nothing, €0.50 or something, and started playing that. So when we got to playing the gigs, when you start playing guitar, first of all, you get all these blisters on your hands, on your fingers, that form the calluses, etc. I hadn't got any calluses. I'd got blood. That's all. That's all I got. I got blisters and blood. So we played this gig, which what we used to do is just either go straight into a place, set a little bit of equipment up, and say, can we play? We'd be there before anybody else. Or we'd just gate crash or pretend we were somebody else. So we'd pretend we were a band that were booked into a place, and we'd go and tell the guys, the door guys, we are the main band. Then of course the main band would arrive, and they'd realize we weren't them. So most places said, yeah, play. It was great. It was a lovely time, actually. So anyway, we played this first gig, and I just had blood everywhere. I was like covered in blood, and just, it was painful to say the least. But anyway, it was a great gig. Had a lot of power in it. The bass drum really worked. Peter Halpem's plays harmonica like nobody else. He's a powerhouse on his own. So it was a great gig. And that's when I decided that somehow we've got to get something else, to complement the bass drum. And eventually we did get a hi-hat cymbal, and that was that. And people thought there was a band on stage when they were standing outside. They thought it was a full band, but it was just the two of us. Yeah,
I remember
because of the blood. A lot of people thought in those days we were like pre-punk blood everywhere. Yeah.
I remember our dad, when we were children, he always showed us this TV show that used to be on TV when he was a teenager back in the 70s, which was called Disco. And in one episode, it had the video of One and One is One. And then I remember that as a little child, the first time I saw it, I turned around to my dad and asked him, like, when is one of them playing everything?
Well, that was it. We didn't know anybody, and there are people like Jesse Fuller, who was an American black guy who played that. He was like a one-man band, and he played harmonica, which I did as well. So we had two harmonicas, bass drum, hi-hat, guitar, vocals, you know, it was just a great combination. But the work precedents, you know, and there was also another really, really superb British guy named Duster Bennett, who was a one-man band, and he was fantastic. You know, I bet your dad remembers him actually.
I'll have to ask him after the
That's
interview.
it.
I suppose he
Duster
does.
Bennett. He did a lot of work also with Peter Green. You know, Peter
Yeah.
Green's Fleetwood Mac.
Mhm.
You know, before Fleetwood Mac was just Fleetwood Mac, it was Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, and Duster used to do a lot of work with them. You know, great player.
So, do you still have contact to Peter Evans?
Occasionally, yeah. We just put out, believe it or not, our a kind of a special album, 50th anniversary, believe it or not, like 50 anniversary of our very first album. So that was the first time I'd seen him in a while, and the first time that I'd had a photograph taken with him for like almost 40 years, you know, because Pete left Medicine Head in 76, I think it was 1976. So, you know, after that, I carried on doing all kinds of things, including Medicine Head. And we drifted apart. We didn't sort of see each other. But that's the most recent time, was to see him. And it was great, you know, really good. We had our pictures taken together, and we did a signing session for the CD and album, you know. So it was great. Catch up a little bit. Yeah.
Did you get the chance to play a few songs with him or play music with him when you met him?
No, we didn't actually. No, this was at the record company's offices, and
Okay.
they just got computers and screens and no guitars, and so it was just simply a signing session and a few photographs, and it was nice. It was really good, and he's a great player. You know, you should check him out. He's in a band now called Blues Club, with a great guitar player named Robbie McIntosh. And Robbie's been in all kinds of things, like he was in the Pretenders for a while, you know, the Chrissy Hines band, the Pretenders. You may know Paul McCartney. You may know him. Robbie played for Paul McCartney, John Mayer. Yeah, I mean, you know, great player. Blues Club, check it out. There's a couple of guys from Dire Straits in there as well playing. You know.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
So I've heard before that, and I want to ask if that was true. Is it true that the first time you were signed to a record label, it was because John Lennon liked you so much?
Yeah, absolutely true. You know, it was really surreal, you know, the true meaning of the word surreal, because we were just a couple of kids from the Midlands of England, and we you know, we arrived at a club. We knew that this guy named John Peel, who was a British DJ, was playing there that night. He was introducing the main band, who I think were Jethro Tull, if you remember those at all. And so we arrived and we did our usual, you know, hi, we're Jethro Tull. We went in, set out our little bit of equipment, you know, and then eventually, of course, Jethro Tull arrived, and they said, "What, you know, what you're doing?" The management of the club, "What are you guys up to?" And I said, "Well, let us play, because we have to get to John Peel, because he was a DJ that was playing alternative music, you know, not mainstream music. He was he was playing a lot of alternative stuff, and he spent a lot of time in the USA. So you had a lot of West Coast stuff and things breaking out in the late 60s. So he wasn't playing, you know, everyday pop music. He was playing something out, rock music, you know, that became what we know now. Anyway, he was a very influential disc jockey. And I thought, you know, if we can get to see him, he might, you know, he might like us. You know, you never know until you go, right? So we did that. We broke in, blah blah blah, and they said, "Okay, you've got 10 minutes, right?" And I said, "Fine, that's great." And I think John actually only heard 5 minutes. He wasn't there for the whole, the extravagant 10 minutes. You know, he was just there for a few minutes. But afterwards, he came to us and he said, "Look, send me a tape." Right. And so we'd never recorded anything before. So we borrowed a tape recorder, which we put up in the middle of the kitchen on a table somewhere. And we just played, you know, it's not like recording professionally or anything like that. So it's very lo-fi, but it has a great feeling on these tracks that we did. It's just like really emotional, you know. And John Peel, he played it to John and Yoko and Pete Townsend and Eric Clapton and a few other people. And John Lennon said, "You have to sign these guys up, and you got to do it now. And you've got to put this out just as it is," right? So, yeah, I mean, thank you, John Lennon, and forever thank you, John Peel. You know, they did so much for us, you know, and just incredible. I mean, how lucky can you be? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool when you hear that John Lennon likes your music.
Yeah. Well, and also he liked our raw approach to anything, really. It was just very raw. There was nothing sophisticated about it. You know, it was straight from here, you know, straight from the heart, very lo-fi, but very powerful. And that's what John Lennon picked up on. And so did John Peel, you know, and he gave us the break and he signed us to his brand new record label. And yeah, we were lucky, man. We were lucky, you know. You got to get out there and try, but you do need some luck as well, you know, but never give up. You know, this is it.
So before we start the interview, my dad actually asked me to ask you something as well, which is the song "Be My Flyer," which was the B-side of Rising Sun. He wanted to know why that song isn't on any other albums or any compilation albums, and not even on like Spotify or anything. Why he can't find this song anywhere except for on here. That's, by the way,
Right.
that's his self-made cover for the thing.
Well, back in the day, we didn't like to put all tracks on. We didn't want people to be buying things twice, you know. So if you bought a single, we would make it just a single, you know. This changed as we went on to different more commercial labels. But in the early days, we wanted people to if they wanted to buy something, they didn't have to buy it again on an album, you know. So Be My Flyer was probably part of that thinking process, you know. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Dad. If I can dig it out, I'll stick it on something, YouTube or something, you know.
Yeah, you should re-release it.
Yeah.
It would be pretty cool.
I know. I mean, you know, considering it's the 50th anniversary of the first album, you know, it's like hard to remember some of those tracks, you know, really. But I do remember that song.
Yeah. It was the first thing my dad said. He said, "Ask him about the secret of that song." Like, why is there a secret? Yeah, I can't find it anywhere.
I'll have to try to remedy that. Yeah.
So I also know you have a new single out, which is Warriors of Love.
Yeah.
So what was the inspiration for that song?
Well, as I was saying earlier, you know, I'm kind of an old hippie, I suppose. You know, I believe in peace and love, you know, and I believe in all those ideas, you know, where we help to promote each other, you know, we give each other support, you know, and we've just been going through, the whole world has been going through a really tough time. It wasn't inspired by the pandemic, but it was inspired more by the kind of the idea that no matter how sophisticated humanity seems to make itself want to appear, we still don't have equality. You know, we don't have a real appreciation of each other, and I believe in equality and empathy. I believe in these things deeply, and the whole thing about Warriors of Love is it's powerful. Love is a very powerful thing. It's power, and that's why I thought of Warriors. I think there are a few other songs with the same title, and I'm not surprised, because it's a pretty cool title, Warriors of Love. And to me, it's like a call to arms, like, you have a call to arms in an aggressive way. Mine's a call to arms, a call to the arms of love, it's that. And, it says, I believe in freedom, and I believe in truth, and I believe in the power of love, and I believe in you, so I'm just putting across this whole idea that there you are, it's like 4 lines, I think, very simple and hopefully direct, and Warriors of Love. And that's basically just says that, yeah. And I mean, I really like that track. It's going good. It's going good on Spotify, and going good on the platforms. So that's wonderful after all these years, to have something out there like that. And as well as everything else, I started my own label. So that was the first release on the label. So we've all been living in our houses. We've been in isolation, and we've been in our apartments or wherever. And so this label's called Living Room Records. So the living room to me is wherever you are in the world. You could be on top of Everest, could be your living room, or you could be in Bavaria in the forests, and that's your living room. You know what I mean? So Living Room Records, wherever you are. But there is a slight reference to where we're at the moment, and this is my living room, which you can probably see I'm just packing it up, because I'm moving the end of next week. So I'm packing it up. There's boxes everywhere. And, hopefully we'll all be able to break out of our living rooms and out of the isolation that's been thrust upon us. We just got to be good, be safe, and be safe to other people. Stay healthy, help other people to do the same thing. All the usual stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there already any other releases on your new record label?
Yeah, on this Friday, is that the 12th? I think it is. There's a song called Painkiller by Belinda Campbell. So that will hit everywhere on Friday. They'll be on all the platforms, from Spotify to iTunes and all the rest, Apple Music, etc. And her song also, from the website, from the Medicine Head, there's a website, medicinehead.rocks, ROCKS, not .com, not .uk or whatever. It's .rocks. So if people go to medicinehead.rocks, they can, we have a limited edition of Warriors of Love as a physical CD. And there's a physical limited edition of Belinda's Painkiller, all signed and numbered and nice, a nice sort of thing to have, hopefully, So yeah, Friday's the second one. Then I've got another Medicine Head release coming up in either late March or, it'll be April, definitely April, because it's almost, what is it now, the 10th of March? Yeah, it's going to be either late March or April. And then May, there's a Medicine Head album going to hit the streets. Oh, and also I've got another girl named Kathleen Pearson, who's her single's due in April too. So a few things going on. Yeah.
So do you yourself choose the musicians that are recording on your label, or do you have someone like A&R person who's doing this for you?
No, this is very homegrown. You know, it's very homegrown, very organic, very much around here. You know, so it's just things that I like. You know, and mainly a kind of Medicine Head label, in a way. You know, for me to put out my stuff, and other people like Belinda and Kathleen, and there will be more. You know, there's more stuff coming out. You know, with the pandemic, I'll just break this. I'll break the silence. With the pandemic, it's been difficult for us all to work together because we couldn't see each other. You know, we haven't been able to. You've seen so many people doing, you know, online gigs and all that sort of stuff. I've done a lot of little messages myself, you know, with guitars and singing to people just to say, hey, you know, we'll get through this, you know. But we haven't been able to be in the same room to play. So that's going to be great to be able to do that again. So in the meantime, you know, we're sending WAV files to each other, you know, just sent some stuff out to a friend of mine in Tokyo. I'm in London, he's in Tokyo. There's another friend in the USA who's working on some stuff with me. You know, it's great to be able to do that in the pandemic, but it's not the same as being in the same room.
So do you have any plans to play live shows, or is it everything canceled right now?
Well, all the stuff that was put in, it has been postponed or, you know, cancelled. But I just heard a few days ago that the first shows are in that look good are in September. The first week, I think it's the first week in September. It's a festival over in Ireland. So, you know, if that's, it still seems like it's on, we'll see. You know, you just have to wait and see, you know, unfortunately, but that's where we're at right now. And then some of the other shows that have had to be postponed over the last year or so, more than a year probably, will be reinstated, you know, because people bought tickets and, you know, they've either been refunded or they've kept the ticket with whatever they wanted, you know. So yeah, life, I'll have to kind of get fit and unfat and get out there, you know. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Yeah.
So another thing that I'd really like to know is, so you've already accomplished a lot, and you said you thought you were on a mission when you first started. So do you think your mission is already accomplished, or are there any goals, anything that you'd still like to achieve?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but, you know, I never thought of goals. I don't think of careers. I don't think of anything like that personally. I just think of where we are, what we're doing. You know, it's like a moment, the Zen moment-ish in a way, you know, so I'm always on to something else, you know, so I just look at it like, you know, let's do another song, you know, and I keep writing songs, and that's really where it's at. And I suppose the mission would be to never stop. You know, I'll have to be stopped by something. Hopefully not yet. You know, but I mean, that's it. It's like, it's really a lifestyle, you know, it's my life. It's not, I never thought of it as a career. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do ever. And you know, when I lost my hearing, as a lot of us musicians do, because we play everything so loud, you know, so over the years, your ears take a beating, and I lost my hearing and had to have my ears rebuilt. So it shows you that, you know, loud music will damage your ears, kids. The problem is there's nothing like it, you know. And I still play loud music. So I'll have them rebuilt again if necessary. But what I did during that period of time was I did a lot of visual art. You know, I went back to the compulsory art school for rock and rollers. You know, I started producing artwork again. So whatever it may be, you know, that's what I do. I kind of try to continue to be creative, you know, in any way that I can. The visual has taken a back seat again. Now I'm back playing and singing and all that. But it's always there, you know, and I write poems, you know, and it's poetry was how it started, actually, you know.
Have you ever thought about publishing your poetry, like releasing a poetry book or something?
Well, a lot of people have asked me about a book, you know, and I have started to write a kind of biographical, semi-biographical, a kind of a stream of consciousness book called The Medicine Man, He's Got the Potion, right? So that's it. And you know, there are poems, you know. It's I wouldn't want to kind of separate very much the poetry from the writing that I do anyway in songs, you know, because it all comes together. I think it's all sort of one thing. But if someone else wanted to curate it, I don't have time to do all this stuff. You know, I'm too busy writing the next thing. I'd rather be doing that than looking at a bunch of work that I've already done and say, oh, I'll put that together with that, you know. So it's really, that would be a labor of love for someone else, I think, rather than me at this point anyway, you know. Times are moving on and I got a lot to do, you know. Yeah.
So do you have any advice for young people who want to become musicians or who want to get into this business?
Yeah, I think from my advice would be almost like forget about business, forget about careers, search inside yourself and see whether you have the strength to go through what you need to do. Forget about limos, you know, all that sort of stuff. Think about your creativity and how you can develop that. And that's for me, that's the start. I mean, I know there's so many different things, especially these days with social media, you know, people become social media stars because they wear, you know, no socks or, you know, something stupid like that. You know what I mean? There's such a crazy amount of stuff out there, but you know, you can develop that. Like I said, I wasn't thinking I was going to be a musician. Peter wasn't either. We just thought we were magicians, you know. People liked us no matter what we did. You know, I had fan clubs at school for just being me. I don't know why. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that's always been present in my life, has been a communication with people on all kinds of different levels. And it did find its way into music. And I think that the thing is to be honest with yourself and to try to find that path, you know, that inner path, but be honest with yourself about your ability and work damn hard to get better, you know, and work really hard to communicate with people before you even commit to recording something. You know, just expand your communication skills, you know, find the truth about yourself rather than the illusion of like a facade, you know. I suppose what I do is I'm not really in a pop music thing. Obviously not now, but even back in the day when we were having hits, it was like an accident almost, you know. It was a very nice accident, but it was an accident, you know, and it was a part of our journey, you know. Peter Hope Evans is still playing harmonica. I think that's fantastic, you know, after all these years, plays beautifully, you know. I'm still writing songs because that's what I do. So find out what you do and then work on it, and don't let the doors close, you know. Like I said, we broke into everywhere and said, can we play? You know, we broke into everywhere, got there before anybody else, because that we wanted to do that, you know, and there was nobody going to say, stop us from doing that. You know, it just wasn't going to happen. We didn't wait for agencies or managers or anything like that. We did it ourselves. You know, it's like a do-it-yourself deal, you know. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your advice.
Yeah, well, it's and then it becomes your own advice, you know, because if you listen to yourself, you will be your advisor, you know. But whatever you do, just get out there and give it a bash, you know, just really try. You know?
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today and for talking to us. This was really great. I loved hearing your stories, and talking to you is really so much fun, and it's so interesting what you have to say.
Yes, thank
Oh
you.
man, well, yeah, you're very, very welcome, both of you, and it's been my pleasure, honestly. And again, I got to say, I love your enthusiasm and positive. It's just fantastic. Thank you.